think most people misunderstand what an identity collapse actually is. They think it's losing a relationship, losing a career, losing a parent, losing a dream. I don't think that's what it is. I think an identity collapse happens when the person you've been trying to be no longer has a place to exist. I know that because I've lived through one. The day before my dad died, he called me from the hospital. He sounded hopeful. He told me he was doing great. He told me he couldn't wait to get out. He couldn't wait to see me. The next day, he was gone. One day, I had a future I could imagine. The next day, the future disappeared. For a long time, I thought I was only grieving my father, and I was. But years later, something else had died with him. My purpose. See, my dad struggled with alcoholism his whole life. I never knew him sober. And when you're a kid, you don't understand addiction. You don't sit down and decide who you're going to become. You adapt. Without realizing it, I built a purpose around him. A part of me believed that if I could just become successful enough, strong enough, good enough, maybe one day I could help him. Maybe one day I could make him proud. Maybe one day everything would finally make sense and work out. I carried that purpose for years. I didn't even know I was carrying it. It was just who I thought I was. Until the day he died. And in that moment, the person I'd spent my life trying to become no longer had anyone to become that person for. That's what shattered me. Not just because I loved my dad, but because I no longer knew who I was. People kept telling me, "You're grieving." They were right. But underneath the grief was another question. If I'm not the son who's trying to save his father, who am I? And that's the question nobody prepares you for. Because that's what an identity collapse really is. It's not losing the person. It's losing the identity you built around the person. I think we all do this. Some people build an identity around being needed. Some around being successful. Some around being the strong one. Some around being the peacekeeper. Those identities help us survive. They're like the scaffolding around a house that's still being built. The scaffolding serves a purpose. It gives the structure support while it's under construction. But the day comes when the scaffolding has to come down. if it doesn't, you start believing the scaffolding is the house. I think that's what happened to me. I mistook my purpose for my identity. So when life removed my purpose, I thought it had removed me. Looking back, now, I don't think my identity collapsed because my life was over. I think it collapsed because the life I've been living could no longer hold the person I was becoming. And that's why I think about the caterpillar. People look at a cocoon and imagine something peaceful. I don't. I imagine confusion. Because if the caterpillar could think it was becoming a butterfly, it would only know that the body it trusted was disappearing. Everything familiar would be falling apart. It would probably believe it was dying. It would fight to stay what it had always been. It would call the cocoon a tragedy. But we know something important, and the caterpillar doesn't. The cocoon isn't where life ends. It's where the old form stops being enough. The butterfly doesn't emerge because it learned to become a better caterpillar. It emerges because the caterpillar finally lets go of the identity it has ever known. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're inside the cocoon. Maybe the career ended. Maybe the relationship ended. Maybe someone you loved is gone. Maybe the role you've carried for decades no longer fits. And maybe you're convinced your life is falling apart. I understand that feeling. I've lived it. But what if the thing that's falling apart isn't your life? What if it's only the identity that carried you this far? Don't rush out of the cocoon. Stay there long enough to let the old story finish. Because the caterpillar never sees wings while inside the cocoon. It only sees the darkness. Sometimes that's all transformation looks like from the inside.